runs most of the modern workday. Purchase orders, contracts, invoices, resumes, meeting links, and approvals all move through inboxes, often at high speed. The problem is that the same channel is where many of the most damaging attacks begin. Malicious attachments and deceptive links are designed to look routine so that people click first and think later. Attackers count on busy professionals treating email as background noise instead of as a potential entry point into the organization. This narration is drawn from the Tuesday Insights feature in Bare Metal Cyber Magazine, and it focuses on email security essentials for attachments, links, and suspicious messages. The goal is to give you a clear, vendor-neutral way to think about how email attacks work, where the main defenses live, and what healthy day-to-day behavior looks like when things are going well. You will hear about quick wins that small teams can adopt, and about deeper practices that link email security into the rest of your security program.
At its core, Email Security Essentials is not a single tool or product. It is a bundle of controls and habits that work together to reduce the risk that dangerous messages get through or are acted on. Some of those controls are technical, like secure email gateways, cloud email protection, and endpoint security tools. Others are about configuration and process, such as how clients display banners, how suspicious messages are reported, and what steps people take before trusting an invoice or a password reset email. When these pieces reinforce each other, email becomes a manageable risk instead of a constant surprise. In the overall environment, email security sits where identity, network, and endpoint security meet. The gateway, or cloud service, tries to filter out the worst messages before they reach anyone's inbox. The email client adds queues and warnings, and the endpoint tools monitor what happens when a file is opened or a link is clicked. Identity and access controls limit the damage if someone is tricked, for example, by requiring extra verification before sensitive actions. On top of that, policies, training, and simple playbooks give people a clear sense of what to do when something feels off. It is easy to confuse email security with basic spam filtering, or to assume that buying a popular product solves the problem on its own. Traditional spam, like advertising or newsletters, is actually the easy part. The harder problem is targeted phishing, convincing lookalike domains, and attachments that behave normally until they are opened in just the right way. Links may pass through several redirect stages before landing on a malicious site. Email Security Essentials does not claim that nothing bad will ever arrive. Instead, it aims to lower the odds that dangerous messages get through, to help people recognize them when they do, and to make sure one wrong click does not turn into a full incident. In practice, each email travels through a chain of checks before it lands in an inbox. The mail provider or secure email gateway examines the sender, the domain, authentication signals, and delivery details. It scans attachments with antivirus engines, and often definition or sandboxing, where suspicious files are opened in a safe environment to see how they behave. Links may be rewritten or inspected against threat intelligence to catch connections to known malicious domains or newly registered high-risk sites. All of this happens in the background, message by message, at large scale. If a message passes those automated checks, the protections closer to the user take over. The email client may label the message as external, warn about potential impersonation, or block automatic loading of images and scripts. If the person opens an attachment, endpoint tools watch for unusual behavior, such as a document launching command line utilities or reaching out to known command and control servers. If the person clicks a link, secure browsing or endpoint protections may intervene when the site tries to do something risky. Policy decisions, such as how strict these protections are and who can override them, shape how effective the whole chain really is. A simple example makes this concrete. Imagine an accounts payable analyst receives an email that appears to come from a longtime vendor, with a subject line about updated banking information and a clean-looking PDF attached. The gateway checks that the sending domain passes basic authentication checks,
and scans the PDF for malware, finding nothing obvious. The message arrives, but the client shows an external sender banner, and the analyst has been trained to treat banking changes as high risk. Instead of opening the PDF and acting on it, they forward the message to a dedicated phishing review mailbox or the security team. That small decision, supported by the right technical cues and process, can be the difference between a near miss and a major fraud loss.
In day-to-day work, email security essentials shows up as repeatable patterns rather than one-off heroics. Teams agree on standard ways to handle invoices, password reset emails, document signing links, access requests, and urgent messages that seem to come from executives. Each pattern includes a few simple checks, such as confirming banking changes by phone using a known number, or never approving unusual payments based solely on email. Over time, these patterns become part of muscle memory for both business users and support teams.
One strong, quick win for many organizations is to focus on just a few high-risk scenarios and make them more robust. Finance, human resources, and IT can agree on how to process vendor banking updates, payroll changes, and sensitive access requests that arrive via email. Combining a reasonable level of gateway protection, clear external sender banners, and an easy way to report suspicious messages gives people both the signals and the path they need. This kind of focused improvement does not require a large budget, but it removes some of the simplest paths attackers used to steal money or credentials.
More strategic use of email security essentials comes when email defenses are aligned with identity data, incident response, and broader detection efforts. Phishing reports can be correlated with sign-in logs to see whether any accounts were actually abused. Patterns in malicious emails can feed into block lists, training content, and tuning rules for other tools. Larger or more mature teams define playbooks for common email-driven threats, such as phishing campaigns, executive impersonation, and vendor compromise, so responses are consistent instead of improvised. When email is treated as one channel in a larger detection and response system, the whole program becomes more resilient.
When email protections are tuned and owned, the benefits show up in very practical ways. Successful phishing incidents become rarer. There are fewer unexplained malware cases tied back to inbox clicks, and credential theft driven by email slows down. Because fewer truly dangerous messages reach users, the organization depends less on everyone spotting every trick under time pressure. Security teams also spend less time on urgent cleanups and more time on proactive work, because far fewer incidents escalate to the level where entire machines or accounts must be rebuilt.
Another important benefit is better visibility into what attackers are actually trying. Gateways, cloud email tools, and phishing reporting channels generate a steady stream of data about lures, themes, and targeted departments. Regular reviews of these signals give security leaders a grounded view of exposure instead of relying on anecdotes. This makes it easier to justify focused training, tighter controls for specific teams, such as finance or executives, or changes to business processes around payments and approvals.
There are real trade-offs and limits, though. Email security tools come with license and maintenance costs, and they require ongoing tuning to stay effective. Filters that are too strict can block legitimate business, frustrate users, and drive people to work around the system by using personal email accounts. Filters that are too loose leave obvious gaps that attackers can exploit. Skilled people need time to review alerts, handle reported messages, and adjust rules. Even with strong controls, there are limits, such as attackers sending very convincing emails from compromised vendor accounts, or using personal mailboxes that sit outside corporate defenses.
Many email security failures do not come from missing technology, but from weak ownership and shallow adoption. One common pattern is the tool installed, process unchanged scenario. A new gateway or cloud feature is turned on and left at default settings. No one has clear responsibility for reviewing alerts, handling false positives, or tuning rules based on experience. Over time, People lose trust in the system, real threats are lost in the noise, and users quietly bypass controls to keep work moving.
Another failure pattern is focusing almost entirely on end-user training without backing it up with clear signals and support. People are told to be careful with links and attachments, but banners are inconsistent, the process for reporting suspicious messages is unclear, and those who do report never hear whether their concerns were valid. Training starts to feel like blame shifting rather than support. Reporting drops off, the security team loses a key early warning source, and attackers benefit from the gap between expectations and reality.
Healthy email security looks different in everyday behavior. People know exactly how to report suspicious messages, and doing so is quick and encouraged. The team responsible for review responds in predictable ways and communicates back when a reported message turns out to be harmful. Basic metrics, such as how many reported emails are real threats, how quickly high-risk messages are contained, and how often playbooks for vendor fraud or executive impersonation are used, are tracked and discussed. Business teams can describe their own safe handling steps for high-risk scenarios in clear, simple terms.
At its heart, Email Security Essentials is about treating every attachment, link, and unexpected message as part of a managed risk story instead of random background noise. It places email alongside identity, endpoints, and business processes as one more surface that needs clear ownership and practical habits. When teams combine reasonable tools, thoughtful configuration, and simple, well-understood patterns of behavior, they are not aiming for perfection. They are aiming for attacks that are rarer, more visible, and easier to contain when they do happen. As you think about your own environment, it can be helpful to step back and ask how attachments, links, and suspicious requests are really handled today. Consider whether people see clear signals, know how to escalate concerns, and have simple, shared patterns for the riskiest scenarios. Small improvements in those areas often deliver outsized gains in safety because they reshape the everyday stories that begin in your inbox.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.